One thing that I wish I had had is more women ahead of me. My PhD supervisor was also a woman, and in some ways she said she saw her job as kind of laying down in the mud so that the next generation could walk over her, and kind of using her life and ministry to make a way for the ones coming up after her. I think one thing that's really important to say is that it's especially hard for women because we're still in a place where we really haven't seen very many women who have modeled this for us. There haven't been very many women mentors who have been ahead of us that we could look at and say, this is what it looks like to be a woman in ministry, in academia, and so on. And so I think the temptation then in walking into a classroom, and in many classrooms I was in my degrees, I was the only woman in the room. I think the message I got at some points was that I needed to leave my gender at the door in order to be considered a real scholar or a real minister. And that's a really difficult sort of place to be. And I think I got to a point where I decided, no, I get to show up as fully myself. And that felt really risky as the only woman in the room, especially in some evangelical institutions. That's going to feel very risky. And yet the Lord didn't call just part of you or in spite of your gender, but as a whole person. And I've been in a number of conversations where, people want to say, okay, there's differences between men and women, and there are, but in evangelical circles, I've never been in that type of conversation where it tends to go well for women. It's usually a list of things women are less good at, or a list of things women aren't allowed to do. But what if we came in and asked the question, what might God be able to do in me and through me because of being a woman and not in spite of it? God has called his daughters and gifted his daughters, and I have to believe that he did that on purpose and not in spite of part of our identity. And so I have seen God use my identity as a woman in a number of ways that I'm not sure I would have been equipped for the same exact things if I were a man. And so I would ask women coming in to maybe let's shift that narrative a little bit and ask, what is God doing? Because it's not an accident that he called you as a woman and not in spite of being a woman.